right, all right. We got to get Eric back in here.
Yep, I'm back on.
All right. We are live. Welcome to another edition of the Press Box. I'm Brian Carson, my co-host Kenny V. Kenny Varner. How you doing, Kenny?
I'm doing awesome. How about you?
Not too bad. And tonight we got a 4-box. We got 4 people on the stream. A new record for us. We hope we don't crash or anything. But we're going to be talking youth sports and in particular the Keystone Football League. And we have Rob Bay, who's the coach of Derry Decatur, the Midgets. Is that right, Rob?
That's right, yep.
And Eric Speck, who Eric used to be in the league, isn't anymore, but I wanted to get him on. I like him. So, Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Brian.
You coach youth softball. You're actually at softball right now, right?
Yep, I'm right at the field right now.
See that? That's how dedicated he is. I mean, I like him. I ask him to come on. He comes on, even though he has to coach. What's the age group of your girls?
This is 18U.
Oh, your daughter in it. Well, there he goes. Well, all right, I think I'm going to have to. He's dropped out a couple of times. It's probably his location, but we'll go to Rob. Rob, how
Yes,
you
sir.
doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Not too bad. We were talking, haven't really talked to you since the Indian Valley days.
Yeah, just a few years ago.
How about it? You were on Gowan Stoker, the great Gowan Stoker staff offensive coordinator, I believe, correct?
He kind of took that under his reign, so I coached
You were
quarterbacks
quarterback
and defensive backs, yeah.
and D-backs. Cool.
Yep.
Get Eric back in here.
Yeah, I keep dropping off.
That's okay, Eric. You're on location. So let's talk about the Keystone Central Football League. Unfortunately, the Juniata Valley League folded, and we just have the Keystone Central now. Is that, Rob, how is, since I haven't been around in a long time looking at the youth football, how is Keystone and the participation? Is it good? I mean, what's going on with youth football? Because I was really surprised when the Juniata Football League folded.
Yeah, I think it's doing okay. I don't know that we saw the balloon in numbers that we thought we would see, with going to one league. And they did some different things this year with putting some boundaries in place where, essentially before it didn't matter where you lived in the county, you could play for whatever team you wanted to, which kind of, made things lopsided. If somebody had a good season the year before, then everybody in the county wanted to play for them the following year. So hopefully that'll even the playing field a little bit more. And, I think our main focus should be putting talent on the field and giving them the fundamentals to move up through the ranks and feed into what Coach Brion's doing at the high school.
That was you answered basically my next question. That's what I wanted to see is some of the coaches, or I don't know how many of the coaches, are they trying to follow at least some of what Shane Brion's running at Mifflin County?
Our staff hasn't had contact yet with I wouldn't mind doing that. I don't know if any of the other teams are doing that themselves. It just makes sense. That's what the Cumberland Valleys of the world are doing. They're playing at least a portion of the high school playbook at the youngest level and just kind of polishing it as you go.
Now, I'm curious about, I saw the Terrace Tigers are in the league.
Yes.
That was a Juniata Valley League team. I was surprised more didn't try to come in then. Was they just didn't want to, or do you know the reasons why?
I think there was some of it that kind of, I think there were some bylaws, with the Keystone League that kind of inhibited some of that based on basically proximity between two teams. Um, that kind of stop some teams from coming in, if they were too close to an already existing Central Keystone League team.
How long have you been coaching Derry Decatur?
This is my third year as head coach, fourth year total.
One of your guys' mottos is everyone play. Is that a designated how many plays or how many plays per game, or how's that? How does that distributed?
Yeah, each kid is required to play at least 12 plays. Each game. So, and that's offense, defense. The kicking game, be it kick return, kickoff, punt return, does not count toward one of those plays. So, yeah, it tightens things up if you have a bigger squad, but it's definitely doable and definitely the right thing to do to get the kids in there and get their experience.
How was I mentioned to you about the league, but how was your turnout for Derry Decatur?
Better this year. We started out with 18. We're currently at 17. The past 2 years, we were down to 11, 12 kids. So there's no problem getting your plays in when you're playing every down. So, that's kind of the frustration that I know from my perspective. Showing up to a game with 11, 12 kids and looking across the field and seeing a team with upwards of 30 kids. Our kids may not always be able to effectively protect themselves just because they're actually worn out and not being able to keep fresh, like those bigger squads. So I think it's balanced out a lot better this year from what we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not like when we played, and I'm older than you, but I mean, I played for the Avenue Raiders.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And yeah, and we weren't very good until my last year of midgets, but we would still get a huge turnout, and it doesn't happen even in high school anymore.
Right.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's like the kids have too many distractions, or sports just aren't important enough anymore? Because I mean, we used to have, oh my Lord, even on Avenue, we'd have like 40 kids come out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I've heard people say, that's they feel it's the handheld devices that are keeping, they'd rather sit and play Xbox or play on their phone or whatever. I don't know what it is. I think even, across the board, there was some of our teams in the league this year that were kind of scrambling last minute to get enough players. So, I think from what it looked like, the game that I was to for the high school, it looks like their numbers have continued to creep up. So that's good to see. But I don't understand at the younger level. And then I've seen there's a couple at least a handful of kids that have come through our program at Decatur that may not be every down players, but can contribute. And for whatever reason, they're not sticking it out. They're not staying with it at the school, and I don't understand why that is. They definitely have the talent to play.
Yeah, I know. I was talking one time to Dick Gingrich, and he said he thinks it's the distractions. Like, obviously he's older than I am, but when he mentioned like video games, smartphones, social media, it's like we didn't have that as a kid. Our video games were Now, like I said, I know I'm older than you, but our video games, we were excited about Pong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
A dot and
Yeah,
two big dashes.
yeah, and Atari and everything was high tech back then.
Yeah, I mean, I was even before Atari, man.
Right.
And it's like we had nothing but our whole mindset was, and our whole neighborhood was sports.
Right. Yeah.
Because we didn't have that stuff. We would always get together, and I'm sure you did too. Backyard football,
Yep.
Basketball, all that stuff. Do you think that is a problem with why sports participation? Like you said, the high school it started to creep up, which is great. But do you think that's the reason why it's not like it was?
Yeah, it could. It does seem like, I know my wife and I still, we have 4 daughters. Well, sometimes it's an extra encouragement to get them to go outside and play. They would just want to kind of hang around inside, and like we're pulling our hair thinking, look, I used to. We lived at the base of a ridge. Heck, we were running all over the ridge and
You
playing
bet.
games and stuff until dark, until it was pitch dark, and they were flashing the porch light at us to get home. And
Exactly. That was exactly my thoughts. My mom used to have to scream at us to get in the house
yeah,
at night.
exactly. Yep.
What about you, Kenny?
Oh yeah, I'd be out all day too. I'd wait for the night the lights from the street lights. That's what they're called. The street lights come on, and then you knew you had about 5 minutes to get your butt home, no matter where you were at. So,
Did you play? Did you play Pee Wee or midget football?
oh yeah, I started actually as a mascot when I was 5 years old for the Lewistown Panthers. So I played all the way up into high school. Sat the bench in high school, but I still played. So
Can I tell you a little funny story real quick? You don't mind?
No, you're good.
All right. It's not. At least I can admit my embarrassments. We were playing Lewistown Panthers. This was my last year Pee Wee's, 13, and it was pouring down raining. I mean, it was like a mud bowl. And we had on our team, it was Brian Swineford was the quarterback. Mark Hidley was back at tailback. And I was the fullback. So basically, I'd block so Mark could get great stats. And they decided that night, I had a great game. I had 4 touchdowns. My touchdowns were 1 yard, 2 yards, 1 yard, 3 yards. So it wasn't like I had to run far.
Hey,
So
nothing wrong with that.
No, but I'm feeling pretty damn good. So in the kickoff, my last touchdown, I'm all pumped up with ego. And I'm looking and I'm like, who's the smallest kid on that damn team? That Panther team. I'm going to knock him on his ass. So, kickoff. I spot the smallest guy on the team. Okay? I go running down Rob full blast. Right? The little guy hits me on the chest, comes up on me, and knocks me on my ass. In front of my mom, my brother, everybody. You know who the kid was?
No.
Scott Popo.
No, you chose
He
poorly.
knocked me on my ass. I'm like, I'm going to take that small guy out. Never underestimate small guys. That's the moral of the story. Now, how do you think the Central Keystone League is? I don't know what year this is of it, but do you like the way it's run, how things are going?
Yeah, I think we have good people on the board. I think we have good people, across the board from organization to organization. Obviously you're going to have struggles here and there, but it seems to be that especially the folks on the boards and stuff, that they want to have the right people in place to work on the right things. Not, it's I tell our kids all the time, it's not about me. It's not about, my three guys that help me out. We've played our downs. Like, nobody's here to see us. We're gonna give them the tools to go out and make plays, and they've got to step it up and do it. But I think sometimes that's a struggle when you're dealing with that parent aspect, of I'm going to help as long as my boys in charge or are playing, or as long as my daughter's playing or whatever. And then they move on, so that there's that continual upheaval, where you have Anthony Everly's been there for a while at Burnham, and you have, Wolfkill and Eddie Rhodes out there at Kish. There's guys that have been in the league for a while now that aren't necessarily just following their kid through. So and those are, Nick and Eddie are some kids that I say kids, but some guys that came up through at Indian Valley too. So I know that you can see they know what they're doing. They're putting good players out on the field. They're executing, sound fundamental football.
Yeah, that's probably I agree with you. A big problem is always there's always guys or gals that stay only until their kids are there, and then they're gone. But you got to admire the ones like you and, like you said, Anthony, who stick it out and bring these kids along and help them out. How do you feel? I mean, a lot of times, from people told me the Juniata Valley League, they didn't think the coaching was that great to teach these kids fundamentals. I mean, I know you're with the league, but how do you feel the coaching is in the Central Keystone?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I haven't really sat down and talked, X's and O's a whole lot with any of the opposing coaches, but that being said, they're executing plays. Obviously, it gets less technical, when you get down to the Pee-wees and the Mighty Mites. I early in the season, I'd yelled out to make an adjustment, and was telling people, getting A gap or getting B gap or whatever that way. And one of the officials turned around to me and said, "Holy cow! There's somebody's actually talking like football terminology, like gap talk and stuff." And so, sometimes I think that would be beneficial to, for these coaches at this level to sit down with the high school coaches to learn their terminology, so that we're starting to talk their terminology. Just being at the opposite end, when I started this this football journey with, coaching at the high school level, just knowing that frustration that when kids come in, even if they had come the whole way up through the youth league, and then they would get to us at the varsity level, and we'd tell them to go out and get in the 3 technique, or run a certain route, or blocking technique or whatever that way, and start talking football terminology, and they're looking at us like we're speaking Swahili or something. So
Not good, is it?
no. So you're at that in my mindset, like junior high, you should be polishing. When it gets to JVs, you should be polishing, and by the time they get to the varsity level, it should just be fine tuning things and fixing little things here and there, and not having to teach from the ground up at that point.
Do you
And that's
find
where we come in.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that's where we come in at this level, is to to make sure that they have those fundamentals and have that basic terminology, that basic mindset of what I'm doing when the ball snapped, where, pre-snap reads, both offensively, defensively, what responsibilities there are in certain, if even just to the point of when they walk out and you ask, well, where did you play? And to just name out left tackle or I was a running back, or I was a wing back, or whatever. Just to have that terminology would be helpful, I'm sure, at the varsity level.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you feel the kid? A lot of people underestimate kids. Do you think these kids can pick up the terminology pretty good for what you're like you said, they're doing gap, A gap, B gap. How do you feel? You coached at all levels. Are these kids in the midgets able to pick that stuff up?
They are now. I think sometimes it's a weighing. You got to kind of weigh it out, I guess, and see who your personnel are. There's some kids it's going to take extra effort to get them up to that speed. But I will say that, I mean, this being my third year as head coach. We had the playbook in a lot earlier. Like, we had some young kids the last 2 years, and like I said, 11, 12 kids. So luckily that split out, that we had, half of them were lineman type bodies and half of them were skill type bodies, and it wasn't lopsided one way or the other. But they brought it, because it was a smaller group. I kind of brought them along a little bit softer and put a handful of plays hit in at the beginning of the season, and maybe added one or two each week, where before the first game this year, we probably had 90% of our playbook in. So
Nice.
They're definitely picking it up and putting it to work on the field.
Do you think, at least, I know you can't talk for everybody else, every other team. Do you think your kids are in the midgets there can contribute when they get up to junior high?
I think they definitely have the potential to. We have I would say a smaller group of kids, like smaller in stature. Burnham's pretty loaded. They have some kids that are they have the one kid that's probably 6'2", and probably should be playing junior high, but and there's a handful of others that are, they're pretty stout kids that I think that'll probably transition pretty easily. But I think that's kind of year to year. Sometimes you're gonna be loaded that way with size, and sometimes you're gonna be on the smaller end. But I think the thing that I always that made me happy when I was coaching at Indian Valley, and we would travel, playing in the Big Eight, then Tyrone's and Bellefontes and Central Mountain, all those.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that always stuck out to me is we'd go to a game, and no matter who we played at the end of that game, the majority of the time those coaches would come over and acknowledge our kids to our coaching staff and say, it didn't matter if we won or lost. Say that it doesn't matter. Every year, a team from Mifflin County comes over here, and we know we're in a game, and they're just tough kids, and they're going to put their nose in there, and they're going to smack people around, and they're not going to let people just punch them in the mouth and walk away. They're going to hit back, and that always made me proud that our kids carried themselves well and represented themselves well on the field. And I think we have those kids. That the games that I've been to for Mifflin County, like they're flying around, and it's not necessarily just a small handful of kids. There's a lot of kids contributing, and there's a ton of enthusiasm. So it's exciting to see.
Yeah, yeah. A 6'2" kid, I think Everly's recruiting.
I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Oh, just kidding. I'm getting so old. I covered Anthony when he was in high school.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my.
He was actually in one of the first years that I coached at Indian Valley. So
Oh yeah.
yep,
Doesn't it make you feel a little old?
it absolutely does.
Because I mean, there I went from covering him to his son.
Right? Yep.
So, what do you tell me? Like your thoughts? What is how do you have to coach? How different is it from obviously besides the physicality, but how do you have to change your coaching style from high school to midget football?
I think the biggest thing probably that I had to learn coming to this level was, you know, especially with the difference in numbers. At Indian Valley, when toward the end of our run there, we had 80, 90 kids on the varsity field. So you have a huge variation in talent pool, and there's bodies there that if a kid messes up or if a kid doesn't show up to practice, then we're instilling rules that, if you don't show up to practice at the varsity level, then I don't care who you are, you're dropping to the bottom of the depth chart and you're working your way back up through. And those are the type of things that you can't necessarily coach that way at this level, because I'm guessing 9, maybe 8, 9 chances out of 10, that's probably not the kid's fault that he's not there. It's not having a ride or family choosing to do other things instead of bring them to practice. So you got to it's a big balancing act, more so than high school. It's high school was more black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you did and here's your consequence. And here we're playing with younger kids with more emotion. The high school, you could get in a kid's face. Certain kids you needed to get in their face to get them fired up. Other kids you needed to kind of coddle them a little bit, or they would go in a shell and not play well for you. So you kind of coach psychologist, and it's almost a little bit more so now with the younger kids. Just because you don't at both levels, you don't know what you're looking at. When that kid leaves the field, what he's experiencing, what home life's like, whatever. So you gotta be mindful of all those factors, I guess. That was the biggest thing, just to, I guess, be more accepting and more understanding of that family dynamic.
Got you. If you just tuning in, we are here with Rob Bay. He is the head coach of the Derry Decatur Cyclones, midget football head coach. They have Pee Wee. Something new, I mean, at least to me, is the mites. We never had that when I played, but that was back when we were still running the T, and the power I and the T formation. When did the mites start?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. I don't know the history of that.
Because I saw on the Central Keystone website, I'll put that link up right now for people if they want to go there, that there was it's for ages 5 to 7 years old.
Right.
And that was something new. So it's giving them a chance to play. And then the Pee-wees are up next with that. And then the midgets are, to 13, right?
Yep.
Now, if One thing I saw, do you still have this scholarship program going?
I believe they do, in the league. I know I'm pretty certain with the Cyclones there is no like team fee. Like they pay for like the families would pay for the jerseys and things, but I don't think there's a registration fee for the Cyclones. I think different teams kind of handle that differently.
That's pretty neat, though. That if it, you know that they have that a little scholarship
Yeah.
program that
Yeah.
helps. And do you think the league would consider expanding if some teams want to get in it?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I
Because I mean,
know.
I'm surprised. I'm
What?
surprised that Lewistown isn't in it.
Yeah. I don't. And that might have been that. I think Lewistown might have fallen into that um the parameters where it was too close to the terrace,
I see.
proximity wise. I know that when the JVFL did kind of disband, um, there was at least one or two kids that played for the Mingos that went over to play for Penns Valley in one season. I think part of that was, emotion too, just kind of frustrated that team couldn't stick together and come into our league and be competitive too.
Yeah, that's. But I'm glad to see that there's at least something for these kids to play, and right now it's a 6-team league, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Got the now here I got the names up: Belleville Lions, Burnham Bulldogs, Derry Decatur Cyclones, the Kish Indians, the McVeytown Eagles, and the Terrace Tigers. And
Well,
Kenny, I know you cover the Super Bowls, or I don't know if the Central Keystone calls it that or not.
Yeah, that should be coming up here towards the end of the month, I believe. You guys are in like the meat of your season, right?
Yeah, we have 2 weeks left, two seasons or games left.
How many games do you play?
Well, we play each team twice, so technically, we would have 10. Midget wise, McVeytown wasn't able to have enough kids for a full team, so we only have 5 teams midget wise. So we end up with an 8-game season.
I see. And you said you're halfway through?
We have 2 games remaining.
Oh, okay. What's your record?
We are 2-3. No.
Okay, and you're in. It's all with only 5 teams. It's just one division, right?
Yeah, we're 2-4, hoping to go out 500, but we'll see what happens.
So who's on top? Burnham.
Yeah.
Anthony recruiting again.
I think Burnham Kish would be battling that out, and the remaining 3 of us, Juniata, Terrace, and us, in the mix behind them.
And if people want to come see you, say they want to come to see Derry Decatur, where do you guys play at?
We're right beside the Decatur Firehouse, right between there and the cookhouse down over the hill.
Nice. You having fun doing this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good group of kids, a good group of families, and yeah, it's fun to. I've said that some of the things that I've been kind of vocal with in coming into this league, are just those moments where, like a few years ago, we had a kid that big body kid. It turned out that he wasn't going to be able to, because of rules. 13-year-olds at that time, 13-year-olds that weighed over 140 pounds were no longer allowed to play in the league. They kind of size wise, they aged out at that point. So this kid kind of fell into that category. So at 12 years old, he's even midway through the season, he's still trying to figure out how to use his body and how to use these techniques that we're trying to teach him and things. And he busts through the line of scrimmage and tackles the running back in the backfield and falls on top of him and gets up. And I yelled his name out in the middle of the field, and he spun around. I said, "How did that feel?" And from the sideline, you could hear him just giggling like crazy. Like he just loved it. And those are the moments you coach for, like just seeing it finally click and them putting a full play together and making a play.
You bet, because that's what it's about. I mean, I know everybody wants to win, but it's also about giving these kids sports. And I know you're going to say the same thing, Rob. Sports for me, kept me out of trouble, and
Sure.
Yep. and it sets you up for life to be prepared for things. And it was just the memories you have more than the games won or lost, to just remember your teammates and the fun you had.
Yep, absolutely. And no matter what your role is, like, that's what I think that was kind of Coach Stoker's philosophy too. When we got up to 87, 80, 90 kids on a squad, we're talking at that point, are we going to have a travel squad? And then, as a coaching staff, you're thinking, well, what are we telling a kid? You can bust your butt Monday through Thursday, but sorry, you can't go along with the rest of us on Friday. And I think because of that, like I gained a better appreciation too, that there's going to be kids on that field that this may be all they have, and that's going to be their football experience, but they need it. They need us almost more than we need them. I mean, like, not to be callous or rude, but like they're in it for the camaraderie and for the teammates, like you said, and just to be there and have a good time, knowing that their time on the field might not be as great as the guy standing next to him, but they have a role in getting that person ready too in practice.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And I know it's Kenny, I know you enjoy covering it. What are some of the things that stick out to you when you're covering these games?
Just the fact that, just like Rob said, this might be some young kids' first and only chance at playing, organized sports, and to see them make a play or to see them get better throughout the season and make a big play or get a touchdown. It's just heartwarming, and it's good for them to have that for their own well-being. It teaches them so much about life in a football game, and it's just fun to see kids even grow throughout it and get better. So, but yeah, it's been fun to see some of these kids that when they started out, they weren't exactly the most aggressive. They may be a little timid and a little shy, and then a few years later, they're kicking butt in JV and varsity, and you look back and you have like memories of these kids when they first started out, and it's kind of great to see the mountain they climbed to get to where they were.
And Rob, I know leagues can't go without support and volunteers. How is that with the league? Your volunteers, and if people want to support the league, how can they do that?
We have a website. The league has a website.
I'll put that up again.
Yeah, various fundraisers. Our big one was the gun raffle early on, for the league itself. But yeah, there's it's anywhere from football coaches to cheerleading coaches, all three levels. I'm sure it's the same way for everybody else, but every field has a concession stand that they can use volunteers in, or just donations of drinks, or anything that way that can help. And like you said, the scholarship thing, I'm sure that if there's the folks that are in that mindset and want to donate money, that it'll be put to good use, wherever it's needed across the board.
Anything else you'd like to add, sir, that I may have missed in my questions that you'd like to get out there?
No, I don't think so. I like Kenny said, that's just the fun part is seeing the growth and the maturity. Like that's our our quarterback. I've had him for the last 3 years. And he has his moments. He's a teenager where he has his moments and loses his cool. But I've seen him grow. I've seen other kids on the field grow so much. This year we kind of are able to have we've developed a backup quarterback that's going to be able to come back next year and should take the reins. But to see him kind of put him under his wing and explain any questions that he might have, him kind of do the coaching of this younger player, that makes me feel good that it's sinking in, and he's not just thinking about himself, he's thinking about the team too, to make them better. That's the role of a leader, not to make yourself better, to make the people around you better.
And the cool thing too is he'll always have a coach. It really is, a good coach is like a father figure, and you never forget them. And
Sure.
that's got to be another cool thing for you, because this kid, like you said, you've had for 3 years, he's going to remember when he gets older and has kids of his own, that time with you out there playing football.
Yep, I hope so.
He will. I know you had to too. Who coached you in high school?
Actually, it was Shane Breon's dad was
Okay.
Willie was my head coach my senior year. And
When was your senior year?
93.
Oh my God, I covered you too.
Yeah.
Kenny, that's it. I'm depressed tonight. I'm good. Oh my God. Yeah, because I started out there in 92 at the Sentinel.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my Lord.
Ironically, how things kind of come full circle. And I learned about this kind of after the fact, but I was lucky enough to have a few schools, smaller, very small schools, interested me. So I went and did some visits with their coaching staff, and through the process, found out that a handful of those schools learned about me from Coach Stoker. He was a head coach at Bald Eagle area.
Yep.
And they said, apparently they talked to him and said, "Hey, we're looking for a freshman quarterback to come in. Like, who should we look at?" And he mentioned my name. So to come back around that whole circle and to then have him put me on his staff when he came here to Indian Valley was pretty cool.
That is cool. Stoker was my coach in high school.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, at Bald Eagles. I was born here, but we moved, and I spent my high school years in Bald Eagle area.
Okay.
And great man. I miss him tremendously.
Me too,
And
yeah.
I remember when he first got the job, and I went over to interview him for the fall sports guide at the Sentinel, and he remembered me right away, which was kind of cool because it had been a while. And he said something in Stoker's great fashion. You know how he was. He goes, "You know something, Brian? Your senior class was the most undisciplined class I ever coached."
That's
like, oh, thank you, Coach, because it proved true. Because I graduated in '84, and then the very next year, with the juniors and sophomores were more mature than us seniors. And the very next year after I graduated, Stoker won the first District 6 championship for Bald Eagle area. So
It's
there
funny.
you go.
it's funny you mentioned about him remembering your name too. That was one of the things that I loved about that experience of being on his staff. Um, yeah, fresh out of college, and he's taken whoever wanted to go on our staff. We went to Wake Forest, we went to East Carolina, Virginia. Um, I forget where else, various other schools, and spent days with their staffs, looking at their offensive and defensive cut ups and films, and talking terminology and technique and trying to bring stuff back. And it never failed. Like, I think it was Wake Forest we walked in, and he recognized it was a Pennsylvania high school coach. There was another coach there. I forget what school he's from, but he walked up and he's like, "Hey Jim, how you doing? How's and knew him by his first name, knew his wife's name, knew his kids' names, like asked about everybody in the family." And I'm like, holy cow! Like, I run into folks that I apologize ahead of time, but I run into people that I graduated with, and I have a hard time bringing back their names if I haven't seen them in a while. But
Exactly. And I don't know how he did it. It was a superpower. Because
yeah,
I'm the same with you. Somebody will come up to me and go, say my name. And obviously we know each other. How you doing? I'm like, I don't want to, like, real, piss them off because I don't remember their
yeah,
name. And I just go, hey, you, how
yep.
you doing?
Oh, the worst is when that happens and you have your young kids with you, because that person no sooner turns around and your kids are going, "Dad, who was that?"
Yeah.
No, just just be quiet.
So you got 4 daughters, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Do they play
yeah. Keep
sports
it.
or cheerlead?
Yeah, our oldest, she's 14, but she plays on an 18U softball team locally here. Um, and then the all four of them play softball. The other three are in little league. They used to cheerlead. They went away from that. The oldest actually played a year for me last year, um, in football, and her highlight of the season was in the bowl game on Mitchell Field, and we kept running sweep to the left to kind of set up the defense, and came back with a reverse for her, and she scored from about 45 yards out and outran everybody to the end zone. So
Nice.
that was the highlight of the season for us. But yeah,
Nice.
they're
Are
all
you a good
involved.
dad when they play softball, or are you one of those screamer dads?
No, I'm in that mindset. I don't appreciate when folks. One of my pet peeves was, you bring a kid off the field to coach them up a little bit, and I learned pretty quickly that you turn them around so that their backs towards the bleachers, because otherwise they're looking over your shoulder to see what mom or dad is saying in the
Yeah.
stands. So I'm kind of that mindset that I keep quiet and let them do their job, and unless I'm involved directly as a coach myself.
Well, hey, I appreciate you. I know it was short notice of coming on and talking with us.
No, I
Eric,
appreciate it.
unfortunately, his connection was bad and kept dropping off, so he couldn't be on. But we really appreciate it, Rob. We
Yeah, thanks.
thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
All right, sir. Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
Rob Bay, midget football coach at Derry Decatur. Go out and see a game. Watch these young kids play. It's pretty awesome, and we need those youth sports. Get those kids out there because it's fun to do. And like I said, go support them. All
Definitely.
right. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Kenny V. This is a reminder coming soon. The PressBoxPA.com, our website, will have articles, columns, features. We're going to be streaming events starting in the winter. I don't know about basketball yet. That's up to Kenny. I know I'm going to be streaming some wrestling. So that'll be streamed on the website, not on Facebook Live or YouTube. Maybe YouTube, but we'll do it on the because Facebook I think gives you a time limit, and we don't know how long matches are going to last. So it'll be on the website and on YouTube. And I promise you, Kenny, it's almost ready.
Oh, cool! I can't wait. Getting prepped.
And also, if you would like any comments, suggestions, or anything that you would, you know what, Kenny?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what?
What's that?
My computer, it froze. I'm trying to put up. This won't go off now. I'm trying, I'm pressing the button to bring the banner up, and it's not working. So,
Oh no, banner's coming up. It's all good.
I got another window that isn't coming up.
Oh, okay.
Like I completely am off the grid.
You gotta love this live stuff. I love it.
Live stuff. But what I was going to show you is our email address. We have an email address, and it's the pressbox9921@gmail.com. That's the pressbox at 9921@gmail.com. And we have all sorts of, if you want to want us to get guests on the show, if you want us to have any suggestions, any comments on what you think about the show, what would make it better, we are glad to help.
Oh,
and listen to what anybody has to say.
Yeah. Also, if you have a college student that's doing well in their prospective sport, please drop us a line. Let us know. Get the word out. A lot of kids seem to disappear right after high school, and we like to keep track of what the kids are doing and kind of like give them a little pub as much as we can.
Hey, there we go. The banner's working now.
Hey.
The pressbox 9921@gmail.com. Now you are a person, Mr. Varner. We'll touch on this a little bit. We basically focused on the Central Keystone League, but youth sports in the entire area, you cover it a lot. What do you think about youth sports, how they are? Do you see participation down, or is it growing and across all sports and getting better?
Well, I'm one of these optimists. I think that it is growing. The thing that may make people think that it's not is like when you and I went through the sporting through our younger age. We had football, we had basketball and wrestling in the winter. We had baseball, and that was pretty much it. Well, now kids nowadays, they have options of soccer. Now this cross country running with Sprex program, and you had your football. But it's grown into its own entity, and there's a lot of, just for example, for softball, you have all kinds of local teams. You have like the Lady Patriots, High Intensity, all kinds of different age groups too with the softball. And I think it's really starting to grow. It's just that people don't see it as much, is because it's just not in one sport. It's growing, but it's not growing at the rate that it did when we were kids.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah, and you're right. There is a much more a bigger palette of sports to play. You're right. With us, it was football, or you wrestled or played basketball, and then in the spring, it was either track or baseball.
Yeah.
Or softball but actually softball didn't come around until later as far as the girls' sports.
Right. Over the last 10 to 15 years, the girls' sports have really skyrocketed. It's great to see.
Yeah, it's good. It is good. The more the merrier, because we've made a living covering sports and talking about sports, and I think it it just makes you a better person playing it. It really does. You learn discipline, you learn teamwork,
Mhm.
to work hard for goals, and then just to have fun. And then when you're younger, you're in great shape. I mean,
Right.
that's not the case anymore, but you at least were at one time.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what do you got coming up?
Well, tomorrow I'm heading over to legendary Mitchell Field. Going to be covering the Milton Hershey Mifflin County football game. Looking forward to that. And then Friday I'll be heading to homecoming in your old backyard, Bald Eagle.
Big win last week, which we'll talk about tomorrow.
Definitely. And then on the weekend, not quite sure yet. Going to see what pops up. I'm sure there's some games that'll pop out between now and then, and I'll be out there covering it if the weather's nice. If it's torrential rain, I might pass, but other than that, I'm probably going to be out there and be covering stuff.
It's a reminder that we will have our high school football show tomorrow at 5 o'clock. We go from 5 to 6, covering what happened last week in week 6, right?
It's crazy. Yeah, week 6.
Yeah,
already.
my Lord. In week 6 of the football season in Center, Mifflin, and Juniata counties. And then we'll preview week 7. We'll do a quick preview of Milton, Hershey, Mifflin County tomorrow before Kenny goes over there. Mifflin County 4-2 in the year, trying to go to 5-2, and that would qualify them for the District 6 playoffs. And because you have to be either 500 against districts, something like that, or win or be 500 overall. You know better than I do.
Yeah, or 500 in Mountain League play, or not Mountain League. Sorry, the Mid-Penn. Yeah.
So, and we'll be talking about State College, Bald Eagle with a huge win.
Yes.
The biggest win they've had in a long time, upsetting a top 10 ranked team in Tyrone. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about how Deontay Sheffy is a major stud as a 9th grader for State College and all sorts of stuff. And next week on the show, I believe it's going to be next week, we will have a Hall of Famer, Mr. Varner.
Oh, nice.
We will have Joe Heller, the first 2-time state champion in Mifflin County history, and a new inductee into the Mifflin County Hall of Fame. He lives in the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area, and we're trying to work it out. He was going to actually be on this week, and he couldn't because things, he was out away on business, and so we decided to talk about youth sports, especially since it's football season, youth football, and I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, it went by quick again. I love it.
Oh, yeah, when you're having fun, it goes by quick. It goes by too soon.
Definitely.
So, any last words, my friend, before we go?
No, just thanks for listening, everybody, and hope to see you guys tomorrow on the pregame or the pregame show.
I guess it could be pregame because it's Mifflin County, Milton Hershey tomorrow, not Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we'll do, folks. I want to say thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, or anything you would like to see, any guest you'd like to see, it is once again the pressbox9921@gmail.com. And we'll be glad to take any feedback we can get. Thank you for listening. Tomorrow, the high school football show. We will preview this Friday's matchups and have a pregame of Mifflin County, Milton Hershey. That's going to about do it for tonight. Thanks for listening to the Press Box. For Kenny Varner, I'm Brian Carson. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.